The Buffalo Bills have 23 free agents going into free agency, and in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the guys that I want the Buffalo Bills to re-sign and the ones I think the Bills should be moving on from this offseason. Now, before we get into this video, I just want to thank you guys for helping me reach 800 subscribers. We've gotten over 80 subscribers in the last 3 days, so keep it up. Still, 98% of you guys are not subscribed to this channel, so please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers by the NFL draft, but let's get into it. So the Buffalo Bills have 23 free agents, and this graphic on Spot Rack, I understand it's probably not the most beautiful thing to look at, so I made a graphic for the people that I want the Buffalo Bills to re-sign. We're gonna go one by one down this list. I'll give my reasoning for all these guys. The first guy up is going to be Joey Bosa. Now, I have been on record to say that he did not have the best end of the season last year. However, I think that having him as a rotational defensive lineman and a veteran on the defensive line while we transition to a new scheme in the 3-4, I believe that he should be a priority for the Buffalo Bills to re-sign. I think he had a solid regular season, which even though he disappeared on the stretch, I think just his contributions during the regular season did help the Buffalo Bills out quite a bit. I think that having him around would be beneficial for this team. The next guy up is going to be Matt Milano, and I wanted him to be re-signed for two reasons. One of them is because of the fact that his cap hit this year is going to be $11 million to not play for this team. So I think if we give him at least a 1-year extension and we could lower his salary cap hit for this season, that'd be beneficial to not only bring back Matt Milano, but also to bring back a ton of other guys on this team. So Matt Milano, I do want to re-sign him. I think he could be a very valuable mentor to a linebacker if we draft a linebacker in the draft, which I think we will do. But also he could still play good football. He played very good football down the stretch of the season last year. So keeping Matt Milano should be a priority for the Bills for those two reasons. Next guy up is going to be David Edwards is on the list, but we're going to jump down to Reggie Gilliam and Connor McGovern, and then after that, we'll get back to David Edwards. So Reggie Gilliam, very, very simple. He's just a phenomenal fullback for us, and this offense requires a fullback. He has been great for us. Brady loves him. Josh Allen loves him. No reason to not have Reggie Gilliam on this team anymore. But then as for Connor McGovern, he is probably on this entire list of re-signing guys that I want the Bills to bring back. He is my number one priority. He has been the center for the Buffalo Bills for the last 3 years. He was ranked as the 9th best center in the NFL last year per PFF. He was phenomenal in both pass and run blocking. I think that having that continuity at the center position for Josh Allen is very important, because we have seen over the course of his career, the new center has to come in for a couple of snaps. It always looks a little bit wonky. Josh Allen and Connor McGovern have a very good chemistry, and that keeping him around should be a priority for the Bills. But now I want to get back to David Edwards. He has been the left guard for this team for the last couple of seasons, but this is a fact. Connor McGovern is going to be getting a large contract. He's just a great center. There's no world where he does not. Now, as for David Edwards, I absolutely love the guy. I think he was a phenomenal player for us last year. Only allowed 3 sacks last year. Only 3 penalties on the season. He was the 22nd ranked PFF left guard in the NFL, which I know isn't great, but still he provided good play for the Buffalo Bills all season long, and he was very consistent. However, he is also probably going to be getting quite a large contract, so I do not think that the Buffalo Bills can re-sign both David Edwards and Connor McGovern. If they could get David Edwards for cheap somehow again, that would be great, but I just don't see a world where that does happen. So I think for the Bills, it is really one or the other, Connor McGovern or David Edwards. That's why I have the asterisk next to David Edwards' name. I think that the Bills should opt to bring back Connor McGovern as opposed to David Edwards, but both these guys I want back on this team in 2026. All right, I just realized my face was a little dark, so I turned on the lights. But we're going to keep moving on with the guys I want the Buffalo Bills to re-sign this offseason. And the next guy up is going to be Brandon Cooks. I think he was very good for the Buffalo Bills down the stretch last year. I think everyone would agree with me on that statement. He was a phenomenal deep threat for us. Obviously, had that unfortunate situation in the playoffs where he caught the ball. They ruled it an interception. Not much Brandon Cooks could do there, except for maybe hold on to the ball. But Brandon Cooks was a very solid receiver for us. Now, I don't want to bring him back to be that wide receiver 1 once again. Like I said in my video yesterday, which if you guys haven't checked it out already, I recommend you do so. I went over 4 different wide receiver trade candidates for the Buffalo Bills. And so Brandon Cooks will not be coming back as that wide receiver 1 once again. I think he should come back as a wide receiver 4 behind a veteran receiver that we trade for, Shakir, Josh Palmer, and then even maybe Keon Coleman above him. I don't know. But Brandon Cooks should definitely be that wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 on this team. And these last 3 guys on this list, Mitch Trubisky, he's just been a solid backup QB for the Bills. You know when he comes in, he could play good football. He's a good locker room presence. I think there's no reason to move on from him unless maybe he wants to go somewhere where he thinks he could compete for a starting job. But if he doesn't think he could do that, I think the Bills should definitely try to re-sign him this offseason. And when it comes to Sam Franklin, he was a phenomenal special teams player for the Bills this season. I think they got him for a late round draft swap in the offseason from the Carolina Panthers, and he was absolutely phenomenal for this team all season long on special teams. So he should definitely be sticking around, especially with a new special teams coordinator that we have. I think having a guy like Sam Franklin could help transition into, having a whole new special teams coordinator on that side of the ball. I think that would help out a lot. And as for this last guy, Shaq Thompson, you guys know him, you guys love him. He was phenomenal for the Bills last year. He was starting over Terrell Bernard basically most of the time last year once he finally was able to get onto the field. And he was absolutely fantastic for the Bills. I think he should be definitely a priority re-sign. Now, originally, when I was making these lists of re-signings and guys who I wanted to be gone, I had Shaq Thompson on the list of being gone, not because I don't want him back, but because of the fact I thought that maybe he would only want to play under Sean McDermott, that he wouldn't want to come back to the Bills if McDermott wasn't here. But the fact of the matter is McDermott is not going to be coaching anywhere in 2026. And also Shaq Thompson, just 20 minutes before I started recording this video, he was, tweeting out and replying to One Bills Live, because they were mentioning how Shaq Thompson has played in a 4-3 defense, not a 3-4 defense, so they don't know if he would be a scheme fit here anymore. However, Shaq Thompson went out of his way to correct them and say, I've played in a 3-4 since 2019. This was the first year I played in a 4-3. And he was saying that he would fit any scheme. So I think he's, kind of indirectly saying that he wants to come back to the Buffalo Bills. I think that'd be great for the Bills because he was amazing for us last year. I think keeping him around as a veteran presence, because like I said, if we draft a young linebacker just like Matt Milano, he'd be a great veteran, and he's also still a very good player. Bills fans, before we move on to the guys that I don't want the Buffalo Bills to re-sign, let me know your thoughts on all these guys in the comment section down below. Out of these guys, do you want to keep all these guys, or is there a guy or two on this list that you do not want to stick around? Let me know in the comments, but now let's move on to the guys I want gone. This list is going to be a little bit longer, and I'm not going to spend as much time on some of these guys because I think they're pretty straightforward. The guys who I think is pretty straightforward on why I don't want them back are going to be Larry Ogunjobi, Mitch Wishnowsky, Darnell Savage, Jordan Phillips. That's just easy. Get them out of the way. No reason to talk about him. Larry Ogunjobi with the penalty in that playoff game against Denver, which negated a fumble recovery by the defense. Jordan Phillips is quite old. He gets hurt basically every single time he plays. Darnell Savage played 2 snaps for us in the playoffs, allowed a 30-yard touchdown on one of those snaps, so he should be on. And Mitch Wishnowsky, I guess there's no reason for me to really want him gone that badly, but he's just a punter. I think that the Bills could find a UDFA replacement as opposed to re-signing Mitch Wishnowsky for next year, because I didn't think he was all that impressive to begin with. But now, as for everyone else, let's go down the list, starting off with Daquan Jones. Now, last year he was basically invisible, at least in my eyes, all season long. He was not very impressive all year. Didn't really seem like he fit the defense last year, and kind of took a step back last year. And just to add on to that, on Twitter, during the Patriots AFC Championship game where they won, he was tweeting out his excitement for the Patriots and Mike Vrabel, which is fine because he was coached under Mike Vrabel before. But then when someone commented, bro, you're a Bills fan, or you're on the Bills, you're not supposed to root for the Patriots, he goes, I'm a free agent. So clearly he doesn't have any emotional connection to Bills Mafia anymore. So for that reason, that is one of the reasons I want him gone. But also he just looked kind of invisible at times. Don't think that necessarily losing him would be a bad thing, and that we could save that cap on some other players. Now when it comes to AJ Epineza, I kind of gave my thoughts on him 2 videos ago in my video where I gave 5 Bills I do not think will be back in 2026. But just to reiterate those thoughts for you guys, AJ Epineza has played for the Bills for 5 or 6 seasons now. He has not really had that breakout year just yet. We've kind of been waiting on that basically every single season. His one good trait is that he is good at batting balls down. He can get interceptions at the line of scrimmage. But that's about it. He only had, I think, like 5 sacks last year. That is kind of near the peak of his production. He looked invisible basically almost every single week. I think AJ Epineza, he was a solid player for the Bills, but just time to move on from him. Now we'll move on to Trey White and Jordan Poyer. So Jordan Poyer, he did play good down the stretch for the Bills last year. And actually, he played pretty good all season long. But he is 34 years old. So not only do I want the Bills to let him walk, I think he might just retire. To be completely honest with you, I think this could have been his last year in the NFL. And as it goes for Trey White, I think he played very good football for the Bills on the stretch last year. But he's also getting up there in age. And I think that it's just better off that we spend those roster spots on younger guys who have, not more talent, because Trey White was phenomenal last year, but more upside than Trey White, because Trey White is his career might start slowly falling off once again, like it was just a couple of years ago. But love Trey White. Don't necessarily want him to go, but I don't want to spend any cap space on him or a roster spot on him when we have a lot of guys that we need to re-sign and a lot of moves that need to be made to upgrade this team in free agency. And these next two guys, DeMar Hamlin and Cam Lewis. DeMar Hamlin, I've wanted gone for basically 2 years now. He's just not a productive player for the Bills anymore. Unfortunately, after his cardiac arrest on the field, he just has not been a productive player for the Bills. He's not been on the field. He was out all of last year with a torn pec. So I guess, got to give him a little bit of grace for that. But DeMar Hamlin just was not very productive when he's back on the field for the Bills after his cardiac arrest. And then when it goes for Cam Lewis, he was solid at times when he would play for the Bills. I thought for a little bit that he could be the replacement for Teron Johnson in this defense. However, with the scheme change to the 3-4 defense and Big Nick or Nichols not really going to be as utilized as much in this defense, I really don't see the fit for Cam Lewis on the team unless they maybe want to transition him to safety, give him a chance to compete for that starting safety spot opposite of Cole Bishop. But I don't know if that's going to happen, so I think Cam Lewis is a guy who should just be on his way out of Buffalo. But you got to thank him for his time in Buffalo as a special teamer and occasionally contributing on the defense. And then when it comes to Matt Prater, I have him on this walk list just because of the fact he is old. I think he will retire. I think he's turning 42 years old this offseason. I just don't see a world where he even kicks next year. If the Bills do end up bringing him back, it would be in training camp. But we also have Tyler Bass, who Brendan Beane said he anticipates to be the starting kicker in 2026. So I think Matt Prater, thank you for your service this last season. You were phenomenal. You're probably the most reliable kicker the Bills have had in quite a while. But Tyler Bass is going to be coming back, and I don't see a world where he is gone. Then this last guy on the list, because we already went over Jordan Phillips, Mitch Wishnowsky, and Darnell Savage. Gabe Davis, I think he was solid for the Bills last year, but he did just tear his ACL once again. That's 2 ACL tears in the span of 2 seasons. It could have been an MCL tear for him last year. I could be wrong. 2 ACL tears, but he definitely tore his ACL this most recent time. And I think his career was already starting to slow down. He was not a good run blocker for the Bills last year at all, and his passing game production wasn't great. He was also a healthy scratch in multiple games last year. So I just don't see a world where Gabe Davis is back on this team in 2026. But Bills fans, that is my breakdown of all 23 Buffalo Bills free agents going into this offseason, and if I want the Bills to re-sign them or let them walk. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But before you do that, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to this channel if you have made it this far into this video. And I'll see you guys in the next one.